and gentlemen, welcome to Talks with Todd.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? What's going on? It's your boy B Todd in the building. Welcome back to season 4, episode 3, man. This is going to be a great episode. And as you guys already know, if you've already been watching season 1, season 2, I am done with talking about my personal life. I am on the interviewing side of things. I know that's a switch for most people, but it's going to be okay because it's going to be great. And I have a very special guest with me here today. Listen, my introduction to this young lady it came about me working up here at Podcastic, and since then we have grown to have a very dope relationship. She's on a podcast called Emmy. Encourage Me, I'm Young, with her husband Calvin Mann. Great, it's a very great episode. They have a very great show. It encourages young boys to be men, and it helps black families stay together. So she also has her own podcast called Your Inspired Journey. You definitely have to check that out as well. And it definitely is an inspired journey. She got stories for days. But today I'm sitting here with Dr. Heather Mann. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you. I appreciate you taking time out to come on my show today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Thank you. Now, today, I wanted to speak with Heather Mann about giving marriages more chances. Me personally, I'm on my 3rd marriage. I don't plan on getting married again. However, I do understand how some people can be scared to take the next step and get married and give marriage another chance again. So I wanted to speak with you today about your journey and why did you give marriage another chance or give marriage more chances?
Right. Well, from my first marriage, I believed that I was married to my soulmate.
Okay.
And of course, I was a young woman with high ideals and still captivated by the imagination and fantasy of what marriage was supposed to be. And I knew that I wanted to be married. I knew that I wanted a family. And so knowing that, because that's what I've known, that's what I grew up in, that's what surrounded me all of my life was family and community. And so I knew that I wanted that for myself and wanted to be a part of it. So I knew that family was the way to do that. And so family for me began with marriage. And so my heart was completely open, and I did not expect that my first marriage would end. And when it did, I was devastated. So it took a lot out of me. As a matter of fact, I had a lot going on at that time.
Gotcha.
And the grief of it was devastating. And that, even in that, it wasn't that I never felt that I would love again or marry again, but I needed time to heal.
Got you. Okay. And what did time to heal look like for you? Because it's different for everybody.
Really, it was about reevaluating myself and my ideas about what I wanted and what I didn't want. Okay. And I just assumed, growing up that I knew what I wanted, but that was before I had the experiences that I did. And understanding more about my journey, understanding more about what it really means to be in a marriage. I thought I knew because I was raised in a marriage, but that's actually not enough. It's not enough information.
Yeah, I understand that. Now, when you were being raised in a marriage, did you think that it was gonna everything was gonna kind of play out and work itself out because you grew up in the marriage?
Yes. Okay. I had every expectation. Even it was a point where we separated, and I told my husband at that time, I told him, take all the time you need. I'll be right here.
Wow.
Work it out, get it together, whatever, however much time you need, take it. I'm right here. And I had not planned to go anywhere, and I didn't expect for him to go anywhere either.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. I understand that. Now, in doing your healing process, were there certain steps that you had to take or things that you had to stay away from to keep you on the right track?
Well, what really helped me, and I tell people this all the time, journaling. I had to write through it because the more I kept it inside of me, the more it festered, and the more it was confusing. It was like having a ball of yarn without the end pieces. And it was just a bottle of string. And the more I started to write, I started to find the end pieces, and I started to pull those pieces and find my way through the maze of the hurt and the grief and the pain and the shame that was associated with that. So I had to write my way out.
Okay. Now, was there anybody that was able to help you through your difficult time?
Well, initially, I went through counseling. And I kept setting up appointments for both of us to go to counseling, but he would never show up. He always had an excuse and a reason why he didn't show up. And so finally I started going through counseling by myself. And one question that the therapist asked me was, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't want to keep begging and asking and pleading. And I don't want the excuses anymore. I want to know for certain if he's coming back or not.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That's real. When I went through when I was going through my first divorce, I went to counseling as well. And she never wanted to go to counseling with me either. She claimed that she didn't need counseling. I needed it. Okay, cool. I went anyway, only to get the strength that I needed to leave. So I'm glad that that counseling session helped me, or those sessions helped me, because here I am thinking I'm all right. I'm gonna work on me and I'm gonna get my marriage back together. But no, it really just gave me the strength to be like, you know what, I deserve better. It's time to go ahead and cut my losses and move on. And that's what I did. However, I didn't handle it the way that I should have, but that counseling helped out a lot. So I'm glad to hear that you did that. And, most people think that they don't, especially in our community, most of us believe that we don't need to go to counseling, and they think it's, it's a sucker move or whatever. No, it's not. It really does help. So what would you say to somebody that is scared to go to counseling or just looks down upon it?
Well, the first thing I would encourage them to do is look at where those ideas came from. I'm really big about looking into our backstory.
Okay.
If somewhere in your backstory you learned or you thought or you heard that counseling was for the weak, or counseling was not, we keep all of our business in the house. What happens in the house stays in the house. Those kinds of epithets that we have adopted as a community. And so you need to find out where those things started so you can go back and reassess, because often those beliefs came from a child's mind.
Yeah.
And that you never matured that idea for it to make sense for you now and make sense for your life. We looked at it through the lens of a child. And so as a lens of a child, you don't see things as a mature adult. And then those excuses, that's where a lot of our excuses originate, but we don't know that. And so that would be the first thing. Go look into your backstory where you got the idea, and then reevaluate that, and then look at it through a different lens. So, and then you can see that there are different types of therapists and counselors that have specific expertise. And there's some that are more effective for women. There are some that are more effective for older women. There are, all of these different types of therapists and counselors. There are specific counselors for divorce. There are divorce therapists and divorce counselors. So it's a lot of support, but you do have to take that next step.
Yeah.
You always need new information. And while our friends and family and our loved ones, those who care about us, are very important and very necessary for our support, they are not always your wise counsel.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to ask you too. Have you ever received information from a counselor that the information wasn't conducive for you?
I did, but it was in a different space in my life. I was dealing with suicidal ideation, so
Okay.
I was on the brink of just complete and utter failure. Like,
I understand.
And so, but what that situation, what that counselor didn't give me was an understanding that there is a process of grief. And because I didn't know it was a process, I was stuck in one of those steps and didn't know that I was even in a process. I thought, this is it. This is where I am. And my only solution or my only answer was to take my own life. And so, but that was also brought on by that divorce and the grief of that, because I was going through, my best friend died at the same time. So I had that compiled onto the loss of my marriage, because each one of them was my support system. So I didn't have anybody to help hold me up.
Got you.
So that the lack of that particular piece of knowledge is really what allowed me to take that leap and go to the other side.
I understand.
Yeah.
Now, when you were going into your second marriage, how did you know you were ready for that?
Oh, wow. That was a great question. So there was actually time and distance between that first marriage. I had a good 12 years between my first marriage and my second marriage.
Nice.
During that time, I dated. I had a lot of self exploration. So I got to know me a lot better, and I poured myself into my community work, finding value in myself. So I didn't need somebody else to validate my value. And I realized that in my first marriage, that was part of what I was very dependent upon with him. I needed him to validate my value.
Gotcha.
And make me feel valuable and important. And so when I lost that, I lost a sense of importance for myself. So I had to rebuild my identity. I had to rebuild who I was. And I did that through going to different workshops, reading, exploring and experiencing life in a new way and through a new lens. And I dated a lot. And I changed the quality of what I was looking for in a date.
Got you. That's dope. Mm-hmm. That is really dope. That's powerful too. Now, what were some of the workshops like?
I went to a lot of, I think at that time we were just getting into the idea of journaling and the idea of sharing and the idea of sister circles and sisterhood. So it was a lot of things that was about empowering women at that time. And so this is like in the early 2000s. So okay. I went through a lot of those types of workshops. It was always looking deeper into yourself. What are you excited about? What do you know about you? And those questions in those workshops kept asking me, what do you know about you? Gotcha. What do you know about you that's not implanted or projected through media or projected through this level of expectation of what a woman at 25, 28, 30 is supposed to look like.
Right.
Because I realized during that time that those ideas were shaping a lot of us as women, especially as Black women. You know, those ideas of, you know, you're supposed to look a certain way, dress a certain way, act a certain way. You're supposed to have a certain image that you needed to uphold, and everything was based on that image. So what I had to unlearn are those mixed messages that kept being sent to me, and I had to keep unlearning those things and kind of really unpacking that.
Okay.
So that those were some of the things that helped me to be ready and to validate myself by my own value.
That's really dope. Now, where would somebody be able to find like a workshop that is going through a tough time, or even a divorce for that matter?
There are so many resources. I'm a resource, so I keep in touch with, a lot of the women who have circles and groups and organizing. So I'm a resource, so you can always reach out to me. But you can also go on Eventbrite. A lot of the women who have circles and groups always publish on Eventbrite. Facebook has numerous groups of women that are empowerment circles, and whether you're in business, whether you're in relationships, whether you're on your comeback, there's a group for everything. Yeah. And what you do is you test it and see if you fit. Yep. And in the event that you don't, you pass it by and you keep on moving.
That's dope. That is dope. Now, how did you, going into your second marriage, what was your mindset at the time? Like, because you had to build a new you. Mm-hmm. So when you got into that second marriage, what was your mindset like then?
Well, the first thing that I actually started to do was to journal and write about who I wanted to be for the man that I wanted to be with. And so I started to, when I was writing that, I was thinking about who I am now, or who I was at that point, who I am now, and what man could match what I'm asking for of myself.
Got you.
So if I'm focused on my spiritual wellness, is he focused on his spiritual wellness? And so I started putting this list together, and it's like pages in my journal. It's pages. But what I did, which I think was really is really significant to my third marriage, because I've been married 3 times. But for that, at that time, what I asked God to give me confirmation. And so I asked for 3 things that would confirm the man that God had for me.
That's powerful.
It's very important to understand the man that God had for me. I asked for 3 confirmations. So I'm going to tell you what those are. Okay, so I had this whole list of things. He needed to be able to barbecue. That was big to me. He had to be family oriented, all this kind of stuff, pages and pages of it. But my confirmation, so it's 3 things, right? I asked that he have dimples. I asked that he be able to sing. Oh, that's me.
That's okay.
I asked that he be able to sing. And I asked that he be a man in every sense of the word.
That's great. That is great. And you know what's crazy? Most people don't even go dig that deep into asking God for that. They just say, all right, I want to be married, you know. And a lot of women unfortunately don't want to be married. They want the wedding. They want the show. Yes. You know, so the fact that you did that is great. Like, I don't hear that often. So that is really deep. That is really deep.
And I encourage men and women to ask God for that confirmation for the person God has for you. Yeah. So my second husband didn't have those things.
Got you. Okay.
My second husband didn't have those things. He actually came into my life, and he was, at the time, and some things that I was going through, he was the hero that showed up.
Got you.
And so I figured, okay, well, you know, hero, he may not have had all of the qualities that I listed. But he was a good person. He was doing positive things. And so I kind of went and leaned into that, because we started a business together, and we started to grow on that level. And so I was like, okay, so the first time I married for love, I loved him. Don't get me wrong. I loved him. But I was thinking, you know what? Financial security is going to be important in this marriage.
Okay, got you.
Building this business is going to be important in this marriage, you know, and being active in our community and building our culture was really important to me at that time. That was the space I was in. So he had all of that. And so I was like, okay. And he said, he had never been married before. And he said, I'm only getting married once. And I was like, okay, so let's go. Let's do this. Because I figured I could be in a relationship with a healthy thinking man. Whatever it was that we could face, we would still work things out.
Okay. That's real. I can understand that. I can understand that. Now, do you believe that you were stronger going into the second marriage, like way stronger than you was dealing with the first time?
I absolutely, because I had a sense of self. I had a sense of identity. And that wasn't anything that anybody else had to validate. Okay. He didn't have to validate me.
Gotcha.
I was already shaped and formed in who I was going to be. I was excited about working with somebody who had a sense of culture. I'm talking about our Black, our strong, our African-American culture and our history. And that was such a great appeal to me.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we were starting a business together was a different element, and how we brought people together amongst us and building this vision was really important. So I was good with building the vision together. And that was important to me.
Got you. Now, how was it like? What was the business exactly that you were into at the time?
So part of that was that we bought a lot of our historic African scholars.
Okay.
To set up lectures, and we had created this dating app that was culturally based, that people who were like-minded people in our culture at that time could tap into it and meet people who had a like thinking.
So you guys were like matchmakers. That's fire.
That was part of it, but it was more about how do we pour into our culture.
Gotcha.
To build family and to build networks. And that was really what our business was about, building that network and making sure we kept our pulse on our gifts, our talents, and our abilities as a culture. And so that was really important too. It was important to me at that time. It was very important to him.
Now, what was that process like when you guys, you saw the business flourishing and everything? How did that grow your marriage at the time?
So I was also working at that time. And so I was working long hours. One of my projects was building a business incubator. So it took a lot of time, a lot of hours. And this was months. This wasn't just, a day-to-day thing. This was really for months. I had put a lot of time. So, we had a newborn. First, let me explain this too, that My second husband was a little bit older than me. Well, he was significantly older than me. And neither one of us had expected to have children.
Okay.
So we started our relationship and our marriage already knowing that we were not going to have children.
Got you.
We had a child. and the big joke at the time, and because I had not been able to have any children from my first marriage. So remember, it's a good 10, 12 years between this time period.
Right.
So I was resolved with the fact that I wasn't going to be able to have my children of my own. And that was a big joke. So when we got married, I remember specifically, because God has a sense of humor.
Yes.
Saying, ha, 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 you're going to be 80 years old trying to teach your son how to play basketball. And we laughed, like a big belly laugh about that. And probably the next month is when we found out we were pregnant.
Wow.
And so I was late in my 30s, like in my late 30s. And so that was a big impact on our marriage.
Got you.
Yeah, and the business.
Got you. Okay. All right. So what steps did you take leaving from that marriage and going into your third with Mr. Calvin Mann, Dr. Calvin Mann?
So the difference. I met Calvin at the time that I was still married. Let me say that, but it was around business. It was business related, and so as I met him, I gained a real appreciation for him and his passion. So if you know anything about Calvin, you know how passionate he is about boys, men, husbands, and fathers, and family, and the order that we keep in terms of developing and cultivating who we are as a community. And so I met him. He was at the beginning of Emmy, and I met him because he heard an advertisement that I had done talking about this entrepreneurship school, this division that I had created in this organization. And so he heard the information on the radio, and he came directly there. Of course, it was pre-recorded, so I was actually in the office.
Right.
But he came and he asked for me, and he just poured it out and said that he needed help. He had this vision, and he needed help forming that vision into a program, and that program into an organization. And so we had a really amazing, intense conversation. He had his children there at the time, too. He always had his children with him whenever I would see him. And so he was really impressive, because I knew him to be a man of integrity and a family man.
Got you. Okay.
And so all that, I already knew that about him when I met him.
Right.
And so that was a huge introduction. I bought into the vision with him.
Okay.
So I helped set up his program. I'm real big on infrastructure. So that was some of the support that I offered to Emmy and Calvin over the years. And so it was many years later. So like I said, this was like, by that time it was around 2009, something like that. And so, but during the course of the time between the time we got married, let me just say that the time we got married and the time I met him was 10 years maybe.
Okay.
And so it was time. And so I knew him as a person. I knew him as a man. I knew him as a father. I knew him as an organizer. I knew him as a visionary. And he was my friend.
That's so important.
Oh my gosh.
That's so important.
Yeah.
When you a friend first, it's something different, man. It's a totally different respect.
Yes.
It's just everything. So how was the friendship before the marriage?
But before we got married, he was really important to me as a person, and I knew that over the years he had been through a lot. He had been through a lot in his marriage. He had been through a lot in his work. He had been through a lot, and I knew that part of his outlet was he used to talk to him from time to time, and he would be involved in some community event, some big major community feeding. It was some big major basketball tournament. It was so I was there. I always tried to make time where I could support and give to the organization. So, building our friendship, it was a matter of respect. It was really a matter of respect. So, one of the symbols for me of our friendship was a white rose. And so, from time to time, I would wherever he was, I would find him and I would drop off a white rose to him. So he worked at the barber shop, or maybe it was an event or something. I would leave it on his car. I would just drop these white roses, just, and it was, for me, it was always a symbol of my friendship and respect for him. And I wanted him to be encouraged because he was always encouraging other people. I wanted him to be encouraged, and nobody else needed to know.
Right.
It was just something that was just private for me to want to encourage him. And so that was a symbol for me of our friendship. And just over the years, he started referring to me as White Rose. I'm like, no, you're the White Rose, right? But he started referring to me as White Rose. If anybody knows him or us intimately, you might hear that.
Right.
But that's where that came from. And so just the symbol of our friendship just continued to bloom just like a rose does, right? Yeah. It has a season when it's small, and that was a season where we were just building as friends and, as members of our community. There was a point where that rose opened up, which is where our friendship opened. And I started to see him differently. But it wasn't until when we started dating was when God revealed to me. Now, I had known him for years.
Right.
That God revealed to me, and I had never seen it, that he had dimples, he could sing, and he was a man in every sense of the word. He was a gentleman. He was a manly man. He was the hero type. And his last name was Mann.
Perfect. Perfect.
But all that time, God never revealed that to me. Because remember, I asked for the man that God had for me.
Right.
And the fact that his name was Mann, I never paid attention to that. Mm-hmm. I had known him for years and didn't even put his name Mann to that request or confirmation that I asked for. So this is really why I tell people, one, you want God to bring your mate to you. It doesn't mean that you don't go through the process, because I continue to go through the process, because we have to test ourselves, right? We have to test our ideas. We have to challenge those ideas. And what I learned between my first marriage and this marriage is where I had God kept. In my family, we have a tradition that when a couple gets married, you get a family Bible. And that family Bible is our family history, where you keep your family history, births, birthdays, anniversaries, important events, things like that. But that's a gift, and everybody had the gift, this Bible, on their mantle or on a special place on like the coffee table or something like that. Everybody in my family. And that was as far as I put God in my relationships.
That is amazing. God
was on the mantle. God was on the coffee table, but God was not in my decisions. God was not in my choices, which is why I kept making the choices. And God's like, one day you're going to, include me in your marriage. You're going to include me in your relationship. So now God is a part of our relationship. God is more than the ring on the finger.
Yeah.
God is in the vow. God is in the bed. God is in the argument. God is in the differences and difficulties. And if you don't have a way to connect immediately to God and see results, this is what I say. It's not that we don't disagree or we don't argue. I'm the one that raises my voice, right? So I had to learn how, and I'm still learning how to manage that fire in me when it rises, right?
Understandable.
So what I say is, God, show me my stuff. Get your boy.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. I mean, a lot of people don't hold themselves accountable. So when you find somebody that does, and then you say, okay, I'm doing my part, now it's their turn. That's amazing that it works out in your favor, if it's eventually, because everybody, cooler hair's always got to prevail. So I understand that aspect of it. Now, my next question for you is, what was the moment you realized, what was it like when you realized, oh my God, I'm in love with this man?
That was an incredible space to be in.
Okay.
It was really, I saw him for the first time. And the lens that I saw him through was, we prayed together, we played together, we laughed. And it was when I realized that not only am I connected to him, but he's somebody that I can look at and feel forever with. And it wasn't about how he looked. He's very handsome, but it's not about how he looked, but it's how I felt when I am with him. And whatever God chooses our path to do from here, whether living or in our transition, I know that he will always be with me.
That is fire.
Yeah.
That is fire. Now, when you came to that realization that Calvin was the man for you, like literally, what was that conversation like when y'all were like, okay, this is what we're gonna do?
Well, so it was a couple of things. So one of the things that he said to me was that I always knew that you were the one for me.
Wow.
I always knew that you were the one for me. And I guess for me, I had my signs, and for him, he had his. But he was real specific. I didn't know who it was going to be. I was just asking for the dimples,
right.
Somebody that would sing. And so probably I asked him one day if he would, he never has a problem when I ask him to sing to me, which is what I wanted, which is why I wanted somebody who could sing. Can you sing this song for me? And he will stop whatever he's doing and he'll sing to me.
That's amazing.
He recorded it for me. I put it on my YouTube. But he sang one of the songs that I really love, and he recorded that, so I can just pull up my YouTube and listen to the song over and over again, because he was singing it over and over again. And so one of those moments was the fact when I asked him. He was doing something else, and I asked him if he would sing to me, and he looked at me and he just started to sing, because he knows that it means and it matters to me to hear that, and to have somebody to pour love into words and melody it's just an incredible gift to have.
Yeah.
And because it's his gift, he's constantly gifting that to me, and it was something that I asked for. So I'm like, okay, God, between you and him, let's go. Let's get
right. Let's get this going.
Yeah.
Now, when you guys got married, how long have you guys been married now?
We've been married 5 years.
5 years. Okay. Now, when you guys got married, what was that wedding like? What was that moment like when you said "I do"?
Well, let me back up.
Okay.
So, my first marriage, I had a beautiful big wedding. It was purple and saxophones everywhere, right? And so, I didn't want to try to repeat that.
Okay.
In fact, neither one of us. He had a big, beautiful wedding too for his marriages too. So. That wasn't really what we were expecting, and I said, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything. So a friend made my dress. Another friend gave me my bouquet. My sister's circle did food. They did reception. He got the church. He got the reception hall. Other than going to get the marriage license, I didn't do anything.
Great.
I showed up. And so he made sure that I didn't have to do anything but show up.
That is awesome.
Right.
Now, did you receive any type of judgment for being married, multiple times?
Most of the people were shocked to know that I had been married, because each marriage came with its own circle of people.
All
right. And so when one marriage ended, the circle, it was a break in the circle. Right. For my second marriage, the same thing. I'm deeply rooted in our local culture, and it was a break in that. And people were like, I cannot believe you guys are not together. All the work that you did and all those kind of things. And some people still don't. They still connect us.
Yeah.
They still keep us connected, and they know that we have a son, so they keep all three of us connected. So in our new circle, which is a much bigger circle, for the years that we put into our community and put into family and put into our work, we have a much bigger circle now that kind of encompasses all of those circles. And so people were surprised that Calvin and I got married. because he had a reputation prior to our marriage as one who wasn't settling down.
Most good men do. Yeah.
Right. And so seeing us together and how we work together and what we have been able to accomplish together, people are excited for us. A lot of times, I'm sure people still have their questions, or people still have their, is this really, that kind of question. But the fact is that God put us together.
That is great.
And so what anybody else has to say, what we offer you is joy. Yeah. What we offer you is support and making it happen for yourself, because we believe in the structure of family. We believe that marriage is more than an institution. It is what is ordained by God, how we continue our generations. This is our legacy. Our marriage begins our legacy, and everything that we create out of it is because of what God has done, and it's ordained by God. So we have only love for those wherever you are in your space, and we are always open to have conversations, support people on this journey, and we do this a lot.
Yeah, that is.
We talk to a lot of couples. We talk to a lot of people who are going through, and not because we're a subject matter expert, because we're connected to our source.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what matters. Yeah. That is great that you guys not only did the work together, but you guys went to school together and made it happen. Y'all like that. What was that like?
You mean the School of Life, Hard Knocks?
No. After that, you getting your doctorate.
Well, so what happened was we have been conferred with an honorary doctorate degree.
Okay.
We were nominated for this honor for Calvin, more than 40 years of work that he's done in community, and for me, more than 30 years of work that I've done in community. So it was an honor that was conferred upon us, and it's unbelievable, because people see that, and because it's in humanitarianism is what our doctor's degrees are in. Because of that, we hope to encourage other people to continue. We never expected to get any kind of accolades or awards or acknowledgments about what we've done. We've done it because this is what we've been called to do.
Right.
And we know that, the thought, word, and the deed matters. And so we just bought into that philosophy. We bought into a God that believes and plants seeds and nurtures those seeds. And so what you see in this doctorate degree is one of them is the nurturing of the seed that says that what you've done in your life matters. And it matters so much that we are honoring you, and here out, this is how you are recognized in our community. This is how and it's an international recognition. So that's even more important. It's not just Detroit based. It's not just Michigan. It's not United States. It's an international acknowledgement of who we are and our contributions to the world, not just our small circle.
Right.
Because our circle isn't really small, but because of who we are and what we have done, we've been honored for that and recognized as masters in this work, as masters of our journey, of our purpose, and knowing that humanity is what saves. This is what we're made of. This is what we are here to do. This is why God seeded us into this time in this season. He could have put it anywhere, anytime, any place in the world, or he could have plucked us out of this world.
Yes.
But God, right?
Yes, that is amazing, and that was a great story too, because a lot. I mean, everybody got a story, but nothing. I've never heard anything like that. So to have somebody right there in your face that whole time, and it's like you didn't know, but then when you started to find out, it's like, wait a minute, that is awesome. So I love hearing things like that, and that's why I chose to interview you, because when I heard, I believe I was watching Emmy. And that's when I heard you say something about being married multiple times. And I was like, what? I'm like, Miss Heather been married multiple times? Okay. That's something I need to tap into. And then I didn't know, obviously, I was going to interview you at the time. But I said, okay, at some point I will. And I just have to make it make sense. And now that I'm talking about marriage this season, it makes perfect sense. So thank you to everybody that's been tapping in. And Heather, please tell everybody, not just about marriage, but just tell everybody that's scared to give it another shot what they need to do.
The first thing you need to do is know what you want. Explore your expectations. we all have expectations, but you also need to know what that expectation is rooted in. A lot of us were raised with Barbie and Ken, right? Those are things, Baby Alive. Like, we had all of these ideas and expectations about what family was supposed to be, what marriage is supposed to look like, and how big the buildup of a wedding actually is, and how important that showcase and all of that. It has nothing to do with that. And a matter of fact, it also has to do with the witnesses that show up. There's a purpose for the witnesses that show up to a marriage, that show up to a wedding. You are as much a part of that success of that wedding and that marriage as the two people that are there.
Definitely.
One, there are no coincidences, right? But two, there is a covenant being established between those two people, God and the witness. If you listen to the vows, it said before God and these witnesses.
Yes.
Before God and these witnesses, not in spite of these witnesses, not acknowledge the witnesses. It says that you're a part of this covenant. And when you talk covenant, there is a responsibility that goes with the covenant, but your source is always your supply. So God is always the supply. And if you're not including God, which is the challenge I had in my previous marriages, I didn't put God in my relationship. There was conversation that was God forbidden, right? You don't talk about God I'm happy to have an orgasm and I can say, oh God, huh? Thank you, God. Thank you. Right. I mean, that's real.
Yeah, it is.
That's real. If you're not that intimately connected with God, how you can be intimately connected to your partner?
Right.
Through God, all things are possible. He
Absolutely.
didn't say some things and not accepting, an orgasm. No, that's possible too. Through God. How about that?
Yeah.
So I'm saying, we don't think about intimacy and including God in our intimacy. It's important to include God there. So that tool, understanding that, the understanding of corporate prayer, that's just you and your husband, or you and your family praying together. There is power in that. We have prayed our children in and out of situations through prayer and fasting.
Yeah.
It's really important. We do that, and we do that for other people. We hold the vow of family and being witnesses at those marriages and being friends with those people or family with those people. Your covenant is important to us. So we're going to keep praying over your covenant, not praying you apart. We're going to keep praying for you because you can change. People can change, just like you have your aha moments. Things that you didn't know, new information is also important in a marriage. Understanding that people are going to flex and change with situations and circumstances. You have to give them grace to do that.
Yes.
Give each other grace for changes or for learning things that you didn't know about the person. Well, I never knew that you were allergic to chicken. So we recently found out my husband is allergic to chicken, and he'll call me a chicken hawk. But I love it. But what it's doing to us is forcing us to eat differently. Yeah. And more healthy. Yeah. Because a good piece of fried chicken.
Man, I love it. Yeah, he told me that the last time I saw him too. So that's crazy that he said that, man. So I definitely understand that. But at least you guys have a more creative way of eating now. Like you have to put thought into what you guys are going to eat. So that's great. Yes. That is great. Well, Miss Heather, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, this season is all about marriage. So listen, tell the people where they can find you at.
You can reach me at yourinspiredjourney.com. My website is yourinspiredjourney.com. You can call me directly. Please don't DM me at 313-759-7855. That's 313-759-7855. You can find me on Instagram. It's a better way to connect. And if you want to hear some of the things that I'm doing and I'm working on, and you can pretty much find me there. You can do a Google search and see some of the things that I've done, some of the things that we're doing. I'm happy to connect wherever.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Heather Mann. Y'all heard it, okay? This was a great episode. I appreciate you. And thank you for everybody who was watching. Telly, engineer, great. You're amazing. Award winning. Thank you. I know it took a lot to come in here today, but I appreciate you. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we out of here. Indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talks with Todd.